Okay, the recording has started, and this is the April 8th, 2021 Crossplane community meeting. We've got a good amount of things on the agenda here, so let's jump right on into it. So as usual, we like to start with our upcoming milestones, releases, roadmap sort of stuff. Last time was the first time we kind of started doing more planning and prioritization from a community perspective. And so folks were, weighing in on, important issues or status of things that they're working on as a greater community and not just the maintainers. So we'll be continuing that process for each one of these community meetings here. So the next release that we have coming up is scheduled for the end of this month. So that's about 3 weeks from now. On April 27th, that'll be the 1.2 release. You can always stay up to date with the schedule of upcoming releases in the main README. There's a releases section there that kind of gives the timeline for releases. So we're working towards the end of the month here. And so we can jump into kind of milestone planning. I think there's, 1.2 is kind of, we've talked about it a little before, and it's kind of more on a, trajectory on landing it now, as opposed to pulling in big items to get started on. So let's bring up the community board and let's just kind of get overall status, like sense of status for where things are, and, updates on things that maybe need some attention to them, but also, like priorities as well too. If folks want to raise their hands on issues or features that are important to them, then this is a great forum to do that as well too. So Muaf, one kind of whole broad swath of area, maybe around a number of AWS resources being added. And Dana gave me a good reminder this morning that provider AWS and all of the providers are not directly tied to 1.2. They're released independently on their own schedule. But that being said, this is in this community here with people gathered. It's a good opportunity to talk about the status of things and weigh in on things. So there's a whole bunch of AWS features or services that have been added and already merged. Do you want to kind of give a broad update around all the other ones that are in progress, Moth?
Yeah. So we've got a couple big ones that affect almost all resources. For example, the one update SDK v2 version. So v2 just got to be general available, and we're going to use that thanks to a few folks from the community who took on that challenge. And the rest of most of the PRs are introducing new services using code generation pipeline. For example, DynamoDB, DocumentDB, sorry, and a few others like Lambda and I think ECR policies manually written. And there's also one about partitions. So in AWS, there is the concept of partitions that we don't really see, except if you work with government or in China data centers. So this issue opened by Steve. We're gonna we have talked about it, and we're gonna fix it in provider config level. So there are these kinds of PRs mostly. And there are a few in the accepted column that are rather small bug fixes that I've been planning to take on, but didn't get a chance to yet. That is overall provider AWS. So in general, most of the PRs are new service introductions, and there are a few changes in how we do things.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think, in addition to the number of services that are being added there, the ones you mentioned about updating to the V2 of the SDK, and then also the, global region partition thing, that those sound pretty interesting as well too. Did you get a sense, Muaf? I think because third Steve, there's a lot of Steves in the Crossplane community. Steve Cavallo, did you get a sense on if that one's going to be landing or the timeline on that one?
Yes, I believe it'll be before the release deadline. I mean, because like the work itself wasn't really that big, but we had to have like some back and forth about like where to put that field. Now I think we're all on the same page from what I remember, so it should be good to go.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, that's good to see good convergence on that one. Excellent. There was another PR that I wanted to bring up here. I'm not seeing it, but it was being able to patch from multiple sources. Hassan, you had written a new Crossplane configuration for Crossplane that depended on that functionality. Do you see that on this board?
Yeah, I think it is in PR open column and sixth from top composition transform patch.
This one right there. Yes, perfect. Has there been any movement on that one recently? Because I was looking at that functionality that you had used in your Crossplane configuration. I thought that was really, really awesome. There's been a lot of discussion on this one.
Yeah, I haven't looked in a little while, but my understanding is that we really just need to. Ben's probably just blocked on direction and feedback from people. I've apologized to him on Slack, and he said he's surviving. So I'm backlog to go review that and make sure that the sort of technical implementation or the sort of the implementation does make sense.
Got it. Awesome.
Have any of the other maintainers had a look at that in like the last few weeks?
I tried looking at it today, but couldn't get into details. But I was planning to.
Yeah, I would like to. This is one that I'd like to review as well. I've just been critically low on bandwidth for a couple of weeks.
That does sound good.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, definitely appreciate the looks on this one, and the managing of a lot of different priorities as well too. Yeah, I really like this functionality. When we can get that in, that would be amazing to have. And Hassan, I also found your Vault configuration there to be quite a nice reference for doing more complicated stuff with Provider Helm too. That was actually a really good resource, man. So thanks for going down some paths before I did first. Awesome, man. Okay. Yes. So AWS stuff, some of these PRs. What else do people want to check in on for status and including in 1.2? What else is on people's minds here?
One thing I know, Movafic pinged me on the in progress here. We have a PR open for the required patch policy aborts. I just need to test that a little bit more, and we should be good to go. But thank you for the reminder on that one, Movafic. I think it's looking pretty good though.
Sure thing.
Oh, right. And that was we were thinking about just including that in 1.2, right? Like, do we see any reasoning for patching that or anything, or is 1.2 okay?
I think 1.2 is okay. It's actually arguably can't be patched, I think, with the implementation we're going to go with, because it's behavior. Well, it's kind of like debatable what the intended functionality is, but I think it is like it is kind of like working as expected right now, but we want that to be different. And so I wouldn't patch it even if the release was way out, I don't think.
Got it. Okay, that sounds good. And then also, this is a good opportunity for anybody to, on the proposed column here, this is kind of serving as a longer term roadmap because, the ones that are proposed and not necessarily accepted into the milestone yet probably are not going to be included in the 1.2 release. But these are somewhat of an ordered list of things that we've heard from the community to be quite, impactful or important for adopters of the project. So this is definitely a chance for anybody to weigh in to say, hey, this one in the proposed column here is really important to me, and kind of, surface demand for some of these issues as well too.
One thing I wanted to mention on the proposed is there's a number in here with my face on them that I think may be able to actually be in the 1.2 release. And some of them are relatively small. One that I think is somewhat critical is updating the newer version of Go Container Registry, which is just a dependency update, but does have some implications we want to test. I think the reason why all these are in proposed potentially is because I missed the original meeting where we triaged this board because I was out, but just something to note on that one.
Well, you missed the meeting and we missed you, Dan.
That's-
Yeah, so do in the newer version of Go Container Registry, do you think that has anything related to like the networking certificates sort of behavior that Rahul had been seeing in his environments, or is just a regular update of this dependency we have?
I don't, from what I've observed, and this is going to be a multiple version bump. So that's something to keep in mind. So anytime you do that, obviously we want to make sure that all the functionality we take into account there. I don't think that there's going to be any change there. I also haven't seen that behavior in any other environment, so it's kind of difficult to troubleshoot.
Yeah, totally.
But no, the main thing here is actually a change that I made upstream related to how it defaults the registry. So right now, like we have some things where it will default dependencies to Docker Hub, and we basically want to say just use whatever use whatever's provided rather than appending Docker Hub to the beginning of stuff. So that's the main thing that we need to update, and that's related to a new CLI command that's going to be present in 1.2 that's upgrading provider versions. Currently, it actually upgrades and appends something like Docker to it, and so that's the main thing we want to get in. Yeah, so there will be some minor code changes as well, but they're strictly additive to preserve some functionality.
Got it. And was there a specific issue on that upgrade functionality being added, or was that already in?
Yeah, that's been in for actually quite a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Cool. Okay. Anything else on 1.2 or roadmap beyond 1.2? Picking any thoughts? All right. Cool. Feel free to always reach out on Slack as well too. If you have ideas about prioritization or issues that you'd like to see get included in, we're always happy to for new contributors to take on issues as well too. We've seen some really good contributions from folks out in the community over the past few months, and we're really happy to continue that trend and support folks as well too. So, all right. So yeah, once again, we will be working towards April 27th for the next 1.2 release. Thanks everybody for sharing the status and everything on that release and roadmap going forward. Dan, did you want to talk about the 1.1, the old 1.1 patch release from yesterday?
Sure. I won't go into too much depth here because there's pretty good write-ups on all the changes. But essentially, we have a 1.1 patch release available that makes it possible to run Crossplane on platforms that are using Runc 1.0 RC93, which is the most recent release. Long story short, there was an upgrade or a change, I guess, maybe not an upgrade, in how containers are initialized that sets up the user before changing to the working directory specified for that container image. So the distro list non-root base image we were using was using the home/non-root directory, which only had execute permissions, which are required to change to that directory for the non-root user. So in some environments, folks had to run with other UIDs. This is frequently common on OpenShift, where they assign random UIDs in a range for given namespaces. And that was causing the container to fail to start because it would try to change directory. So this works around that. Also fixes a number of other minor bugs that are outlined in the release notes. I will also note that Runc is fixing this behavior as well, but we've had a number of folks that are actually, running Crossplane, had the container runtime updated underneath them, and then it start failing. So obviously we want to work with RC93. So that's the motivation here, and it's available and pretty thoroughly tested at this point.
Yeah, thanks for that update, Dan, and thanks for tracking that down as well too. That didn't sound like a super easy issue to get to the bottom of. It didn't seem super straightforward. So
No.
thanks for digging into that and getting to the bottom of that, man. That was really good work. Cool. Yep. So 1.1.1 was released yesterday. The first patch release on 1.1, and it's great to stay on top of quality and issues affecting our previous releases. So thanks for taking care of that. Okay, I think we can maybe move on then from the milestones and releases and go into the community topics section down here. There we go. So Dan, you want to give us an update on some of the recent live streams or upcoming events and stuff that we're doing?
Yeah, so I think for the past few community meetings, I've said there's an upcoming live stream with Flux. It's still upcoming, but we already have the demo built out. So it's really just coordinating with some folks on that side. So if you're using Flux, this will definitely be a cool one to tune in for. And also just in general, using GitOps with Crossplane, it kind of illustrates a lot of the value in that. Also, we're going to have some upcoming streams with Equinix. This is mostly based around their Fabric product, which allows you to kind of connect different cloud providers and orchestrating that with Crossplane. So keep an eye on some of those. Those will probably be split between our YouTube channels and their various marketing / developer advocacy channels. So we'll make sure to make some noise about that in Slack and Twitter and stuff like that.
Awesome, Dan. I'm particularly excited about the Flux V2 stream as well too, because as mentioned too, I wrote like a Crossplane configuration that was using Flux V1 recently, so I might need to watch this to learn how to upgrade and use V2 as well. Constant improvements. Thank you, Dan. Cool. Okay. Quick note on the Cncf incubation process. We are still moving ahead and made some really good progress last week. So the proposal's been open upstream on the Technical Oversight Committee repo for a couple weeks now. But the latest updates are that we have completed a first draft of the due diligence document, which goes into a number of areas and details around the project and architecture and quality and all sorts of stuff. So the due diligence document is available for review, and it's been passed along to the special interest group, the app delivery, that is in charge of doing the diligence with us and vetting the project. So we're trying to make as much progress on that as fast as we can and kind of keep pushing all the stakeholders in that so that we can get that to the finish line. Also available is a presentation on the incubation proposal that we were scheduled to give yesterday morning to the SIG app delivery, and unfortunately the meeting was canceled and moved to next week last minute. So we were not able to present yesterday, but we're on the schedule first thing for April 14th, so 1 week from yesterday. So we're hoping to get all this done in time for KubeCon EU. Timeline is tight, but we're pushing ahead on all the stakeholders as much as we can to keep it all moving. All right, LFX mentorship with our mentee Rahul. Just met with them and synced up right before this. Rahul, do you want to give us a status update on all the work you've been doing?
Yeah, sure. So I'm audible?
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah, so I have been working on provided upgrade and that has been completed and the PR has been merged. And now the next, I had also completed that core Crossplane upgrade testing, which basically upgrades from the stable version to the master version test if everything is working fine. And that has also been merged. And now the next step, as it's been written, that I'll be creating a provider NOP. The functionality, I won't go into much depth, but I'll start with a one pager and you would see the PR soon.
Yeah, it's awesome. And yeah, it's really good that now we have regular recurring like nightly runs of the upgrade testing that Rahul has built for us to make sure that we're able to upgrade the providers and upgrade core Crossplane as well too. So if we have a commit to the main branches that breaks or regresses the upgrade success, then we'll know about it, within 24 hours of that commit. So that's been really nice to have that validation on a recurring basis. All right, and then last note here on Community Day. It's on May 4th as a part of a 0-day event for KubeCon. Schedules up there and available, and the recordings for all the talks were due yesterday, I think was the deadline. So that, I know everybody pushed to make that happen and to get the recordings done and talks finished. So thank you to everybody for staying on top of that and helping to create really good content for what I think will be another really awesome event. So thanks everybody for that. Okay, are there any other topics that were not put into the agenda doc here? Anything else that is on people's minds? All right. Yeah, I don't see any other particular PRs that we need to go over or any other deeper technical discussions. So with no remaining agenda items, then I think we can go ahead and adjourn for this week here. We'll keep on working towards the 1.2 release where we'll be online on Slack and to keep discussing things and work on stuff before the next community meeting 2 weeks from now. Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, Chad.
Thank you.